Você tem alguma coisa pra mim? Do you got something for me?
For you? Tell you what I got. I got a gun, and if anybody thinks they're gonna take it from me, they'd be dead wrong.
Like a bullet-wielding ballerina, Max Payne has made its mark as the John Woo of third-person shooters, sans the perfectly timed dubs. The noir-style presentation and quick-draw gunplay has set the game apart from other titles, and has been received relatively well. Rockstar looks to keep the franchise alive with Max Payne 3, introducing a refined cover system and the addition of competitive multiplayer. So is the latest installment and edition worthy of royalty, or just a royal pain?
I'd arrived in Sao Paulo a few weeks before. I was working a protection detail for the kind of people who need protection in a town like this.
Down on his luck, retired from the NYPD, and still reeling from the loss of his wife and daughter, Max Payne is set up as the typical anti-hero. The game Tarantinos its way through Max's recent exploits, leading up to the remnants of an airfield from the opening of the game. Players will bounce between his departure from New Jersey at the mercy of a local mob to his new job as a bodyguard in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Each chapter adds a piece of the puzzle to the story, as you experience a multitude of double crosses and betrayals firsthand through cinematic sequences strewn about each chapter. The story may not be engrossing as it could be, but you can't help but root for a change in luck for Max Payne through his quest for redemption.
Say what you want about Americans, but we understand capitalism. You buy yourself a product and you get what you pay for.
The plot is decent enough, but it's the way through which the story is told that holds your attention. Storytelling sticks to previous installments with a noir-style influence, giving off an 80s cop drama feel that melds well with the overall somber tone. Comic book panel transitions, keywords flashing across the screen, and a persistent inner monologue make for an interesting manner of cinematics. This approach is complemented by stunning textures and character models, with top-notch mocap to bring each character to life. You also traverse through a multitude of settings ranging from vibrant nightclubs to desolate Havanas, each with its own personality. Bullet time is enhanced with a bass-friendly thud, and each bullet that leaves your chamber makes as much of an impact on your subwoofer as it will on your intended target. With a solid voice cast backing up the dialogue, Max Payne 3 is a game that looks and sounds great. Max Payne will feel quite familiar to longtime veterans of the series, and it's easy to pick up for newbies. You clear 14 chapters shooting through waves of adversaries to its conclusion in what can only be described as a stylish gunslinging cover shooter. Along the way you can expect numerous shootouts with a few set pieces and scripted bullet time sequences to keep things interesting. However, beyond the occasional unique moment, you fall into a cycle of wiping rooms of enemies over and over. The linear corridors are given a bit of life with numerous collectibles strewn about dark corners, such as golden gun pieces or clues pertaining to the story, but not much strays far beyond the expected exchange of gunfire. The general pacing of the game feels great, but cutscenes tend to interrupt the otherwise seamless flow of the game.
I gotta quit drinking so much. I'll give myself serious liver damage.
Yeah, big deal. You can always get a new one.
The variety in gameplay may not be expansive, but the firefights never lose their flair. A newly implemented cover system and arsenal of weaponry allows Max to enter a playground of choices with every room, with options like dual-wielding pistols for a classic feel, or close-range shotguns to keep the enemy at bay. Unlike most recent titles, your health does not regenerate and can only be treated with painkillers found throughout each stage. It makes you a bit more wary before charging in guns blazing, partly because the AI is much more aggressive. Enemies will flank your position and pop out of cover less predictably, which can give the game a bit more of a challenge. It feels like a healthy balance for the most part, but can actually discourage you from leaving cover to bullet dive in order to play it safe. Regardless, the gunplay's simplistic and precise nature makes clearing the droves of baddies a welcome chore.
Yeah, what were you drinking? Bet your ass I was. You try staying in there for 5 minutes sober.
It is just not a Max Payne game without the iconic bullet time mode. A meter that is charged with each exchange of bullets will allow Max to slow time and line up headshots. It becomes useful when things get crowded, but your go-to move will be the bullet dodge. This heroic leap has no rate of diminishing returns in jumping into a room and mowing down every last person before you hit the floor. Unfortunately, the leap is incredibly sensitive, and the slightest object in Max's way can throw him off kilter and skew your aiming. A new addition to the bullet time feature is a last stand mode if you fail to pop a painkiller in time, allowing a moment to exact revenge and keep on fighting. The feature never fails to entertain, and the final kill cam acts like a cherry on top of the carnage you leave in your wake.
What are you doing here? I don't understand. I can't hear you. What are you doing here? Hit me in the ear.
New to the Max Payne franchise is a fairly fleshed out competitive multiplayer. Most of the playlist options are deathmatch centered and will pit up to 16 players against one another. Gang War will be the mode of choice, as two rival teams duke it out over 5 chapters with varying objectives dependent upon the match's outcome. The game can start out with a King of the Hill turf war and transition into a protect the VIP scenario. It keeps you guessing and provides a nice shuffle to prevent the mode from becoming stale. The multiplayer is easy to get the hang of, as the same cover system and run-and-gun mechanics lose nothing in translation from single-player to multiplayer. Even the iconic bullet time is worked in to affect the players in your immediate field of view. It's surprisingly fun, but server issues and disconnects can put a hamper on your overall enjoyment. Upon completion of each match, the expected experience and leveling system will play its part. You have the ability to choose a loadout to match your preferred style of gun wielding. The more you pack on, the less stamina and health regeneration you end up having. This balance allows a multitude of possibilities to customize your character, be it a stealthy bullet-time assassin or fully loaded soldier. With a slew of perks, challenges, wagers, and playlist options, the multiplayer ends up being so robust that it makes it hard to cast off as simply a tacked-on mode. The main downside lies in a huge amount of lockouts to weapons and armor, leaving the new players in that all-too-familiar feeling of being at the mercy of fully loaded at-launch buyers.
Easy gig, you said. What a fool I was to get involved in this madness.
Having only a brief experience with the first 2 games, I walked away from Max Payne 3 generally pleased. There's a ton of content worth revisiting in the campaign, including loads of collectibles and a score attack mode, even though it is incredibly exploited on the leaderboards. The fast-paced gunplay loses little in the multiplayer translation, complete with online crews and various loadouts to experiment with. There's a polish to Max Payne that no person could deny, and though it may not break any new ground, the flurry of bullets will keep you entertained to the very last slow-motion dive.
As aventuras do Captain Baseball Bat Boy.